Hey, welcome to our lesson on dividing decimals with remainders. Our objective today is I can divide decimals with a remainder using place value understanding and relate it to a written method. So we're kind of going to tie in the standard algorithm with this. As a review, let's start with rounding. So I wrote out 3 problems, round 6 and 385 thousandths to the nearest tenth, round 5 and 241 thousandths to the nearest tenth, and round 37 and 645 thousandths to the nearest hundredth. Take a minute to do that, and then when you unpause the video, you can see the answers. If I'm rounding to the nearest tenth, I'll have one number after the decimal, and if I'm rounding to the nearest hundredth, I'll have 2 numbers after the decimal. Tenths, hundredths. So if I'm rounding for A, I will have 6 and 4 tenths. If I'm rounding here, I'll round it down. And if I'm rounding here, 6, 5. So you can check your thinking. And when you're ready, you can move on to the next step in our screencast. So you need to draw a place value chart that looks like this. When you get your packet of problems, the charts will be drawn for you. So you only need to do this a couple times. For my example once, and then with your team, you can use a place value chart that's already made. Our first problem is 6 and 72 hundredths divided by 3. I set up the standard algorithm on this side so that we can kind of compare and keep track as we're going down. But for this, you only need ones, tenths, and hundredths. I put the decimal right in between where it belongs. And because we're dividing by 3, I'm going to add on 3 groups down here. Do you see group 1, group 2, and group 3? This number tells you how many groups, how many rows you need to add at the bottom. And we will discuss why that is in just a second. All right, so let's begin with our largest units. We are going to share these 6 ones equally with our 3 groups. How many ones are in each group? All right, well, let's figure this out. We have 6 ones, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 7 tenths, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and we have 2 hundredths, 1, 2. And we are going to share our 6 ones equally with our 3 groups down below. So every time I use one, I'm going to cross it off. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 1. And I'm just sharing them with these 3 groups down here until I don't have any left. And that is Lady and Stella playing with their squeaky toy. Sorry about that. So we had 6 ones and we shared them with these 3 groups, 1, 2, 3 down here. So each group received 2 ones, or we distributed these ones so that each group down here had 2 ones. How many ones are left to share? 0. We don't have any more that are left to share. When we showed this in our standard algorithm, that's when we ask, how many times does 3 go into 6? 3 goes into 6 2 times. 2 times 3 is 6. And once we subtract or distribute down here, we don't have any left to share. Now I'm bringing down the 7. Okay, and so now we're going to share our tenths. I'll show you what we did on my place value chart and in the written work. So I'm going to share these tenths equally down here. 1, 2, 1, 2, and we want to make sure that we have the same amount down here in each group. Uh-oh, I have 1 here that's left over. I have 1 little remainder in this piece, so we need to figure out where we're going to put this. Let's pause and go to our standard algorithm to see what we might do with that. How many times does 3 go into 7? 2 times. 2 times 3 is 6. Here are the 6 that we're subtracting out. that we shared, and I have 1 left over. We had to take away the tenths that we already shared. We distributed the 6 tenths into the 3 groups, we subtracted them, and now there's only 1/10 left to share. Okay, that's how we got here. Can we share 1/10 between these 3 groups? No, we're not gonna split it up. So what can we do to keep sharing? We can change this 1/10 for 10 hundredths. So I'm going to leave the hundredths up here that we already have, and I'm going to draw an arrow to show that I'm changing this out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I'm making that exchange on our place value chart. And now I have 12 hundredths here. And I'm going to show on my standard algorithm how now I have 12, and I'm dividing 3 into my 12, or taking my 12 and sharing equally with 3 groups. Can we share these 12 hundredths equally with 3 groups? Yeah, we can give 4 hundredths to each group, and you should know that because of your math facts. So let's make sure this works. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I just shared all of my hundredths with these 3 groups down here, and I'll record 3 goes into 12 4 times. 3 times 4 is 12, and when I subtract, I don't have anything left to share. And that's true up here too. I don't have anything left to share. And remind me again why we subtract these 12 hundredths over here. We subtract because those 12 hundredths have been shared. So they're now divided into the groups. 12 hundredths minus the 12 hundredths is equal to 0. So that's why we don't have any more left to share. Look at the 3 groups that you made. How many are left in each group? Well, we have 2 ones, 2 tenths, and 4 hundredths. And that's true here because we shared it equally. 2 ones, 2 ones, 2 tenths, 2 tenths, 4 hundredths, 4 hundredths. We don't have any other units left to share. There's no thousandths. There are no more numbers in our standard algorithm to pull down. So I have 2 ones in each group, 2 tenths in each group, and 4 hundredths in each group. This decimal here in the place value chart reminds me of where this decimal goes. I can also use estimation. If I'm taking 6 of something and dividing it into 3 groups, I'll have 2-ish of something in each group. So take a minute, now that you've seen this problem, you've seen the standard algorithm, and just reflect by yourself, how is this division like whole number division? After you write 1 to 2 sentences for your reflection, you can go ahead and move on to the next part of the video. For the next part, you're actually going to be doing some group practice. So I wrote 3 problems here for you to do with your group. You can use a place value chart like this. You can draw it, or you can get a plastic one and use an Expo marker on it. And then after you solve, those 3 problems with your team, I want you to write out a list of steps to teach someone how to use this method. If you were dividing decimals by whole numbers, write out a list of steps. Like first, you do this. Second, you do this. Third, you do this. And it has to be a list of steps that works for every single decimal divided by a whole number problem. Okay? Thanks so much for watching.